Alright guys, on today's episode of Fly Tying with Jordan, we're going to be tying what I call the stealth shrimp. It's a pretty simple pattern. It does take a little bit of time, but it's not too hard. Materials are as follows. And of course, what makes it stealthy is the powder coated stealth tan bead chain eyes, available at Pacific Angler. I'm going to start by laying down a fairly solid base of thread right where I'm actually tying the eyes. I'm not too concerned about starting a huge thread base all along the shank, but as long as you got a solid base to start the eyes on so they don't spin around. On a figure 8 wrap, these nice tan powder coated bead chains into the top of the hook. I'll do a few securing circles and I'll lock down, not moving. Advancing the thread to the very back. First thing I'm going to do now is tie in my antenna. For that I'm using the Crystal Flash Bonefish Pink, color code KF30 from Hairline. And to do that, all I'm going to do is actually wrap it around my thread, making sure the ends are even. Tying them on right at the bend of the shank. I don't mind if they go down the bend a little bit. It helps them point upwards when the fly is riding properly there. And there we go. I do like adding a little hot spot, so I'm gonna add in a little bit of orange. I do find triggerfish, bonefish, a lot of flats fish will key in on orange, representing small spawn. So tying that in right behind where I tied in my Crystal Flash. And you don't have to be too picky about trimming tag ends, it's all gonna get hidden. And there we go. I trim it actually quite short, just enough to add a little bit of a hot spot right by the point. Alright guys, the next step is our mono eyes. So for that, all I did was make my own mono eyes with mono and some small black beads, as well as a little bit of Silhouette thin, coated with bone dry just for durability. Take the mono eyes, I pre-make these up at home. Cut them in half. Attaching these so they're sticking out just about yay. I try to put them just in line, or maybe just the actual bulb just past the little spawn sac there. Sort of separates them a little bit. And I will do this on each side of the hook. Securing down. And then I like to wrap the securing thread wraps just to where I've tied in the spawn. So you can see my threads there, egg cluster there, eyes just past. Why I like doing the eyes just past it is I find sometimes they can get lost in everything, and just like on big bait fish patterns, I find predatory or hunting fish will key in on the eyes. Again, locking it down to just where I tied in the spawn, advancing my thread forward. Now to help build a natural taper, one thing I'll do is I'll build a solid thread base about halfway up the shank along the mono, and then I'll trim the mono tag ends. That will build a natural taper as you cover it with thread material towards the front of the hook. And again, you can see me just covering up all that mono. And there we go. Now with the Chicone's crusher legs, I take half of one length, and that will be the front leg. So I've taken one full length, and I've cut it in half. Again, just like the Crystal Flash, I'll wrap that around my thread, lining up the tips. I'll tie that in underneath everything. And there we go. So far we're looking like that. Next step is to turn the fly upside down. Take some of your Magnum rabbit strips and tan from Hairline. And all I'm gonna do is take off a small amount, a small pinch. I'll gather it. And this is a little trick I figured out, whether or not someone else already figured it out. But I like to actually twist it before I cut it. I find I get really nice, clean butt ends like that. Now, when trying to splay it around the shank to give full even coverage, around where the feelers and the front of the fly is, I'll actually lick my finger and I'll just wet the butt ends. Stops them from going all crazy, helps me control them a lot better. I'll place them right on top of the shank. And with a big open loose wrap, I'll collect and gather, and then I'll lock down. Now from there, all I'll do is push and maneuver the rabbit so it's on top of the hook, and then wrap down. One thing I like to do here is I'll take it actually out of the vise. I'll take that rabbit and I'll just split it down the middle roughly, so it's looking like that. Back into the vise it goes. Close her up. I'm just going to adjust my bobbin so I can get deep into that hook gap there. There we go. Good so far. I'm gonna use my nail to spread that rabbit evenly around. And there we go. Next step. I'm gonna take some of that sparkle yarn and tan, and I cut off a couple of 3 inches, but it's a 3-strand. For a size 6 hook here, I actually take one of the strands out, and so this was a 3-strand. I've removed one. It is a 2-strand now. I'll tie that in. Don't have to be too worried about tag ends. Secure that down. And get way inside there. Now I'm advance my thread to where just in front of where I've actually cut the mono. It's a good reference point there to tie in one full length of the Chicone's crusher legs. Again, I want 2 legs each side, plus the ones in the front for 3 per side, total of 6. I take the leg, fold it in half. And then, guess what? Fold that in half around the thread, lining up the ends. And there we go. All I'm going to do is leave it barely notched in. Advance my thread backwards. To help maintaining control, all I'm going to do is take my legs, fold back, and place one holding wrap. That holds everything out of the way. Do a couple wraps, 1 and 2. Loosen that off. I'm going to grab my one set. Grab a set, pull forward, securing it with the half wrap of sparkle braid. Grab the other set, pull forward, lock that down with the rest of the wrap, and then continue wrapping. When I get to the dumbbells, I generally will come up to about here. And then I do a half wrap just over top. That's really all you need, is that. You don't need to build too much bulk up around the eyes. Take my thread, a couple of securing wraps, then trim the tag end. I'm going to take more rabbit, another small pinch, do a twist so you get nice even butt ends when you cut it. Cut my fingers a bit just to get the tag ends nice and together. Clean them up a bit with your scissors. And one trick here is I like to actually tie in my rabbit right behind the bead chain with the butt ends just behind the eye. I'll do a loose wrap and then I'll pull tight. By doing that, by tying it in farther back versus closer to the eye, it helps eliminate a lot of fuzz and mess in and around the eye. Small adjustment. There we go. I'm just gonna take my scissors and trim some butt ends there. Clean up the eye of the hook. And finish her off. Now, one thing you can do if you want, if you're going to be fishing over marl, coral versus this pure sand, is tie in a weed guard. When I tie in my weed guards, I actually like using 30-pound mono, just 30-pound maxima, for most of my bonefish flies. Take an inch or so to give yourself more to work with than you think you might need. It's easier than cutting it too short. I'll take my nail and I'll bend a little hockey stick. That's pretty much it. I'll set the blade of the hockey stick of mono just on top, centered. Lock her in. Now, by giving yourself long enough to play with, if it's too perfect, too short, sometimes it folds forward and hides in the rabbit. It's impossible to get out. It causes a lot of wasted time. So by having it longer, I can grab it and I can pull it and bend it, crimp it, so it sticks up nice and straight. I like to cut my weed guards just past the hook point, actually not too much farther. I find if it's too long, fish will sometimes feel this invisible poke before they actually eat the fly, and it can spook them off. So just barely long enough to pass the hook point, and then we're just going to do a nice clean whip finish there. Turn the tag end of your thread. Find your back set of legs. Pull them straight down, not under too much tension, just that you're under control. Cut them even. And there we go. Finish off the fly. I'm going to be using Solarez Bone Dry. And one place I actually like to add a little bit is right in there. Flash that with my UV light. And there we go. My stealth shrimp. Tasty little snacks. Nom nom nom.